Good morning, students, and welcome to Spanish 1. This is Unit 29, Session 14, Week 15. I'm Mrs. Daniel. I'm subbing for Mrs. Alvarado. We're heading into the final lap of the school year. You've completed your midterm for the second semester. And this week, you're having some extra testing and some other activities on through the end of the year. But I encourage you not to slack off because I want you to finish well at the end of this year. I'm looking at the grades and I'm seeing some people turning things in late, all kinds of things going on, and I'm like, what? All of a sudden? But it's not that uncommon for students to get a little bit unorganized, a little bit slacking towards the end of the year, and I want to encourage you to do well because these units, the things that you're learning now matter, and they do set the stage for your advancement. So take advantage of the listening and speaking opportunities that you have for Spanish whenever possible, because you cannot learn a second language just by reading and writing it, unless it's antique Latin. They do teach Old Latin still as a means of growing in language use and in reading some antique literature. But for the most part, anything you want to learn to speak, you will have to practice listening and speaking. Let's take a look at our calendar for the week coming up. You can see that you have several opportunities for listening and speaking here. Please take advantage of all the parts, even the ungraded parts. All of these little microphones here mean that you can practice speaking and listening, hearing yourself, and hearing a recording. Please take advantage of those. Notice that Thursday is the end of this month. That is Thursday next week, and so we're going to be beginning the month of May next Friday, which tells you that you're in the home stretch. All right, so our objectives for this lesson are to cover the vocabulary under transportation and in grammar, the negative to commands. So what is your essential question? How do we conjugate the negative to commands in Spanish? In completing this assignment, this 10-point essential question assignment, please provide an example if you want all 10 points. And make sure it's accurate. In reviewing some of the essential question answers, I'm thinking, some of them aren't complete or correct, and so you won't be getting an automatic 10 points unless you're paying attention. Also, those of you that are here with me today live, don't have to complete that essential question because you're going to be completing it with me. Yay. All right, so let's begin our transportation section. We're going to be practicing words commonly used for transportation, though this list is not exhaustive. There are many more words that are used for transportation, and actually in other Latin American countries and Spain, there are other modes of transportation that aren't that common here. We use a car a lot, and a bus, a plane, sometimes a train. I bet many of you haven't ever been on a train. But in other countries, the other modes of transportation are much more common. People take advantage of mass transportation. Few people own cars compared to here. And the parking is expensive, the gas is expensive. There's lots of reasons why that you would need these words in speaking with a Spaniard or Latin American. Okay, so I'm going to begin by saying the words in Spanish. You can look at the English translation, but I would like to hear you repeat. And if you're at home, repeat as well. The first word is aéreo. Can you repeat? Aéreo. Good. El barco. I need all of you. El barco. Yeah, try to wrap your tongue around those sounds. El autobús. Notice where the accent is. Autobús. El coche. El carro. Okay. They use coche in some regions more often and carro in others. Notice the double R? That's the trilling sound. Carro. Sorry, I hate that. A pie. Can repeat. A pie, that means traveling by foot. El metro. Okay, subway, very common in large cities. El tren. El camión. Here are some other useful words for when you're getting yourself around. La cuadra. Good, that's a city block. La parada de autobús. I think of it as this word like parade, you know, a parade of people, a line of people waiting for the bus. La autopista. Let's try it. Very good. Autopista. La gasolinera. La gasolinera. With a new word, you can chunk it down. La intersección. Very good. Where you see an accent, I want to hear a stress on that. La intersección. El kilómetro. Okay, see that accent? El kilómetro. And it's a kilometer here. La milla. Okay, double L is a yes sound. El alto. El alto. Stop sign also means tall. El semáforo. Very good. I just saw that. Tener prisa. Okay, here's some more useful words. These are verbs, however. Let's begin again. Tener prisa. Okay, I need to hear everybody. Good, that means to be in a hurry. Manejar. How many of you know how to manejar? Raise your hand. Only one? Only one driver. Subirse a. Subirse a. Seguir recto. Go straight ahead. Estacionar. That's to park. Andar en bicicleta. Correr. Doblar. Caminar. All right, let's see which ones you learned. Let's see if we can connect the lines on this. So which one would barco be? Okay, good. How about el coche or el carro?
The car.
How about a pie?
Okay.
How about the one hidden? How about el autobús? How about aéreo?
Airplane.
I'm moving this out of here. Okay, metro would be here. I had to move my trigger. And ideal, traveling in the air is the idea. I covered up that. So let's go on to slide 11. Let's get this out of here. Okay, which one is, I guess, I got to get this out of here. Let me move that. There we go. Which one is la cuadra? Okay, the city block. How about la parada de autobús?
Freeway.
Bus stop. How about la autopista? Autopista, that's the freeway right here. How about el avión? El avión, airplane. El tren. Yeah, that's pronounced most similarly. There's one more slide of these. Let's try la milla. Okay, that's going to be this one. El kilómetro. La gasolinera. Okay, where she's putting gas. El auto. El semáforo. That would be the traffic light. La intersección. Very good. That has the same root, so that's easier. Manejar means to drive. Seguir recto, that would be to go straight ahead. Subirse a, that would be to climb up on or get on. That would be, here's this picture of the little boy getting on the bus. Okay. Estacionar is to park, very good. Tener prisa, to be in a hurry. And la carretera, another, this means road. Yeah, autopista is more like freeway. Carretera is a highway or a road. Oh, looks like we have a couple more. Okay, here are some people doing things. So, el piloto, that'd be the pilot. To, let's see, doblar means to turn. So here's a turn sign in the road. Correr.
Run.
Very good. Run. El conductor.
The conductor.
Okay, conductor or driver. You know, conductor, someone who's deciding and driving, in charge of the driving. Caminar is.
To walk.
And andar en bicicleta.
Right.
Boink. All right. All right, so those are your vocabulary words. And be sure to practice those. Use the flashcards and get those down. Memorization, really. And then seeing them used and in videos or audio or in true life is what's going to get those stuck in your head. On to the grammar section. Now we reviewed the positive to commands last time, and today our grammar point is negative to command. So what's a to command? Why do they call it to command? Okay, in Spanish there's dos maneras, two ways to talk to someone when you're looking at them, and we use the word you. In Spanish, there's an informal, friendly terminology that's called the second person that you use when someone is on the same level with you socially. That's the pronoun to, second person. The third person, he, she, it, or you, is considered a more formal way to address someone. So first we talked about when you want to command a friend to do something. And now we're going to be talking about the way to ask a friend not to do something. But first let's review the positive to commands. Remember, there's a pattern and there are 8 irregular verbs. Do you remember the positive to command from last week and how to form it? Raise your hand or type in an answer for me if you have one. Amanda or Bryce or Naomi, do you remember the pattern for the positive to command? All right, here's a slide to help you remember. To form a positive to command, you change, you use the third person and instead of the second person. So for correr, it would be corre, run. Okay, second person changes to third person for comprar, compra pan y leche. Second person changes to third person for hablar as well. Habla más despacio, por favor. So you're changing your tone basically from saying it in a more friendly way to say it in a more formal way. And in English we change our tone as well when we're commanding something from when we're just talking. So I'm talking to my friend and then I go, come over here. And my tone is a little bit stiffer. I would describe it that way. Okay, so with regular verbs, we're changing from the second to the third person to form a to command. But with irregular verbs, we are going to use a certain word, and it's irregular so that you just have to memorize it. Basically, the formula is going from the infinitive to the first person, and then onto the third person. But for negative to commands, it's a little different. Negative and formal commands are formed by taking the first person present form, the yo form again of the verb, but then adding the opposite to in. So we're not changing to the third person. Instead, we're sticking with the second person, but we're changing the ending. Do you have a question for me? Yeah. All right, so let's take a look at that. So to form a negative command of a verb, we find its first person ending, and then we go to the second person, the to, but we switch over to the opposite ending. So for example, mirar is an AR verb. I go to miro, first person, and then I switch over to second person, but in the opposite. So it would go to mire. But it's a negative, so I have to add a negative word, no. And so I interject my no just before the verb. So to say don't look or do not look, I say no mires. Even though it's an AR verb, I say mires. Okay? If I'm using the word beber, which means to drink, and I want to say do not drink to my friend, I say no bebas. Because beber is ER verb, I've used the AR ending. If I want to say don't take that or don't take it to my friend, I say, and I want to use recibir, which is an IR verb, I say no recibas, which is the AR ending. Okay, let's give it a try. Here's the word hablar. I go to the first person present tense, hablo. Hablar is an AR verb, so I cut off the ending and add the ER-IR2 ending S. So hablo goes to hables. No hables inglés. Don't speak English. Let's try an ER verb. Who wants to volunteer for that one? No volunteers. Okay. Could you read that slide for me, Annie? Yeah. What with the formula? What would you do? Right. you take off you leave the stem. The C-O-M is the stem. Okay, you take that off. You go to the first person. And there's a reason why you go to the first person before you go to the second person. Because you'll see that sometimes the first person isn't what you think it might be. So then you are going to change the ending. And so instead of being comes, now if you want to make it a command, you're going to say comas. So you can say, no comes el dulce. You're not eating the candy. But if you don't want them to eat the candy, you say, no comas el dulce. So whether you say or makes a difference. Whether you're commanding it or just stating it. Okay, here's one. Try it. Decir, what would you do? Okay, if you're on chat, I need you to answer on this one. Decir, what's the first person? Conjugation of decir. Write that. Okay. Now decide if the ending should be an AS or an ES. And then tell me what your final answer would be.
Yes.
So what would your answer be then? So tell me the word I'm looking for.
Diga.
I hear you, Naomi, and you're off on everything. I don't know why. I'm turning you on. I've been having technical difficulties today, but now I think I can hear you. Okay, so I have an answer from someone here live that looks something like this. Oh, how do we know what ending? Well, here's your answer. The first person, you go to the first person, digo. And then you go to the second person using the root, D-I-G. But since it's an IR verb, you're changing to an AR ending. So now it's digas. But they are different endings. Yes. There are different endings. You're going to the second person because it's a to command. You're going to the second person, but then you're switching endings from the AR verb ending to the IR verb ending, or from the IR verb ending to the AR. So how do you know? Okay, you're going from decir to the first person, conjugating it in present tense. Digo, dices, dice, decimos, decís, dicen. So you take the digo. Then you go to the ending, which would be the second person. The second person ending for IR verb would be dices, but you're going to keep the D-I-G from the verb. And you're going to go to the dices, the second person, but now you're going to switch to the AR ending instead of the ER ending, which makes it, that gives it the AS. So now you've got the stem from the first person and the ending from the opposite second person. I have a question. Couldn't you use the example?
Dig.
Big?
Dig.
Big?
Dig.
Let's look at another one, see if it's less confusing if you see them more often. Digue,
Big A.
the ending E. But digue is not a form of the verb. We're in the present tense. Digo, if you looked at a conjugation of decir, the first person is digo, but the second person is dice. It's not digue. That's why it doesn't work. That's why you have to look at the first person, because sometimes the first person is different even in a regular verb. Here's another one, venir. Now, when you conjugate venir regularly, it would be vengo, vine, vine, venimos, venís, vienen. Sorry. So the vengo, vienes, viene, venimos, venís, vienen. So you're going to take the vengo from the first person. Then it's an IR verb, so you're going to use the AR ending. I wish I could write that. Let's see if I can write that. Well, let's look at the next slide because it's written out for you. Okay, so you're going to go to the first person, which is vengo. You're going to take off the ending and leave the stem of the first person, and then add that opposite AR ending, which is an AS for the second person. So now it goes from vengo to vengas. It's a little complicated. It takes a little while to get the hang of that. You have to kind of think it through as you go. It becomes automatic, but not for a while. That's a good question. I'm not sure what the K-list has on it. You can go to first person present on any verb, any regular verb, and take that first person present. Well, the opposite, okay, we're categorizing the verbs as AR verbs or ER-IR verbs. So the opposite would be the one that it's not. If it's an AR verb, you're going to take the ER-IR ending. If it's an IR verb like this one, you're going to take the AR ending, thus the AS. If this is an AR verb, like hablar, it would be hablo, hablas. So you're taking the as of the AR verb, but the stem of the first person. So why not do the other opposite, ER? Well, ER and IR verbs are conjugated the same way for the most part. The regular endings are the same. So we can put ER and IR in one category and then AR in the other. There really aren't three categories. Even though there's three endings, there's really two categories. So if you have an ER or IR verb, you're going to grab the A. If you have an AR verb, you're going to grab the E. For the most part, it's an E for an E or IR verb. Well, you'll use that with an AR verb ending. Let's see, just like this here, like the one we just did. Okay, this was an IR verb, and we grabbed an AR ending. Let's see if we have another one on the next slide. There's going to be a list on your in your activities next week where you get to practice the pattern. So the point on this next slide is that it's going to work the same for singular or plural, because you can command one person, one friend, or you can command a group of friends. For example, you can say to your friend, no hables con la boca llena. Don't talk with your mouth full. So you're at lunch, your friend is talking to you, right, seafood, so you tell them, no hables con la boca llena. Or you can address a whole group. A teacher might say to her students, Or a parent might say to her children, no coméis galletas en la cama. She's talking to 2 or 3 kids. She's saying, don't eat your cookies in bed. More than one. You know, you would use the familiar if it's a parent to a child because of the friendly relationship a parent has with a child. But a child wouldn't use that form with a parent. They would use the third person form. So that's just a technicality. But you could also tell your friends, no coméis galletas en la cama. Say you all go to camp or something and you're in charge of cleaning the dorm cabins and you don't want them to eat cookies in bed because then you're going to have to clean it up. You get the idea. All right. So here is a summary slide, and you might want to refer to this in getting the patterns in your head. This is a useful slide for referring back, and you could expand this slide so that you could see more of the pattern. So with a regular AR verb, the first person compro. To make a positive command, you'd say compra. To make a negative command, you'd say no compres. This one uses the regular ending, third person. This one uses the opposite ending, second person. Okay, here's a regular IR verb, dormir. You go to the first person conjugation, duermo. And then to make a positive command, you go to the third person, duerme. Or you go to make a negative command, the second person, duermes, duermas. This should be duermas. I'm sorry. I can't change this. This is incorrect. I can't change it on this slide, but it should be duermes. Let me write it so I can figure out how to do that.
You have a question?
Yes. I don't know how this got in here. I have found something in here that, how can I make this really nice? Can you see that? All right, let's go down to the irregular. Tener, first person is tengo. The positive command is irregular. Okay, it's not tengue, it's ten. But opposite is no tengas, opposite ending. Hacer, the first person is hago. The irregular form is haz, which means to make or do. Make or do this thing. And don't make or do it would be no hagas, using that first person again. All right. So one more question. If you have the word doblar, you change it to doblo, right? Then what? Doblar, doblo, and then that's a regular verb, so it would be dobla, to command. This is doblar. You would change from the second person. It would be similar to this one. You change from the second person, doblas, to the third person, dobla, or to make it a negative command, you'd say no doble. So doblar follows the pattern of this first one here. Any other questions out there?
Nice.
All righty. All right. So we have a video to take a look at. To practice, we're going to sing along today.
Today we're going to sing
We're going to sing along a little Spanish video about transportation methods. It's a short one, only just a couple minutes, but you can listen through it 1 or 2 times and then try to sing along. The sing along part is for you to hear the sounds of the music and then try to pronounce it. No, you know singing sounds different than speaking, right, in English and in any language, because we draw the words out. It's a little more difficult to identify, but get your ear used to it, and we'll do that in just a minute. we're going to be using commonly used transportation words for this. So after this recording, I want you to click on the video link or paste it in your browser and follow along. And don't forget, due Friday is your response. And if you have any other questions, please mail me, or if this was confusing at all to you, I'll be happy to clarify, or come on in. I'll be happy to see you. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. This is Mrs. Daniel for Mrs. Alvarado signing out. And have a great week practicing your Spanish.